Hi there, welcome back to Not Another Budget. I'm Nicole, and on this channel I'm attempting to cash budget my way out of debt and fix several years of financial misbehaviour. And today I wanted to talk to you guys and actually lift the lid on a little bit of a subject, which is having hobbies and having debt and having issues with spending and being skint, and talk a little bit about the challenges that comes with. And how have I got to me talking about this? Well, first of all, just a little bit of a recap for anyone who's new here, because I appear to be gaining subscribers, which is lovely. Thank you so much. And I am a first year teacher. I'm a design and technology teacher working within England. I live rurally in England. And as a result of being a design and technology teacher, working in engineering and wood-based product design specifically, that I wear through a lot of my clothes very, very, very quickly. They go under a lot more wear and tear, and whilst we do not have to necessarily have the suited and booted uniform that other teachers would have because of that, even wearing protective aprons and overcoats, my clothes sustain a lot more damage and a lot more hard wearing. And so it's really easy to fall into the trap of just needing to buy more and more and more clothes. And sometimes I'll do that out of my personal spending money. And my personal spending category is definitely one which I don't break down line by line in terms of what I've spent on what, because giving yourself a spending category, and if you share things online and you share your money journey, you open yourself up to comment and you open yourself up to criticism. And I think that if you give yourself a spending budget for whatever you want to spend it on, you should be able to do that without necessarily getting comments. And that is completely fine, but the internet's the internet, and the internet is going to do what the internet does, and people love to have an opinion and love to say things and love to troll and love to hate. And actually we need to just be mindful of that, particularly myself as well, because I do have a little troglodyte at the minute who is hopping in, and this is a basement dwelling, bottom feeding individual who has now been hidden. So whatever comment this person leaves on my video, you will literally not be seen by me or by anyone else, and you can crawl back into the nothingness from whence you came, because that's where you belong. So, but no, all sarcastic comments aside, having hobbies, crafting based hobbies, sporting based hobbies, do come with some kind of financial commitment. They do come with a financial investment, and often if we're in a period of low income being stretched, or you've invested in these things during what I call the boom times, when things are really good and then life kind of hits you like a curveball, or you indulging in spending in crafting based hobbies, making based hobbies as well, you can kind of never really stop going. And it's how do we discuss this and how do we talk about this when we have debt, when our disposable income is not so disposable anymore, and when things are going up? And how do we, if we get some kind of validation and enjoyment and gratification from this, how do we actually come to terms with the fact that we can't necessarily indulge our hobbies and our interests in the way that we used to, but actually it's still healthy to try and indulge them? I think that I am someone, in fact, I know I am someone who just has gone hell for leather in indulging and engaging in my hobbies when I was not being financially responsible, when I was definitely earning more and therefore spending an awful lot more, when I was not paying attention to budgeting. I would have no problems just dropping £200 to £300 quite regularly on whatever it was that I was indulging with at the time. And quite often it would be a sewing or a crafting or an art-based hobby that I would be working on. And if you can divert that hobby into something that earns you money, and therefore you can justify buying and indulging more of this, which is what I did for a time, it's a good way of disguising the fact that actually maybe there is an issue with how much you're spending, how much I'm spending as well. I'm just going to have to pop that there. And if I can find some pictures of my stash at its worst, or just my stash throughout the years. I'll put them up here for you now for you to see while I carry on talking. But I am someone who has definitely spent a significant amount of money that I didn't have and shouldn't have spent on things like fabric and notions and crafting. And I've made a really good push since January this year to try and slim down and filter out what I have. And I'm going to give myself a pat on the back, because that contributed, getting rid of these things and slimming them down and sorting them out contributed to me actually being able to plug a significant income shortfall for 4 to 5 paydays, and meant I've not been had to go into additional debt. I have been able to keep myself occupied by sorting that out and not making my financial situation any worse. However, I did give myself a certain amount to hang on to, things that I valued, things that I just couldn't bear to let go. And I'm now at the point where it's like, what do I do with this hobby? I've already spent the money. I have already invested in space and storage, so I don't need to necessarily do any of that again. I have all of the components that I need to continue pursuing this hobby. And I think there is the temptation where us as hobbyists and us as crafters, when we are in a financial hole, be that we need to pay off debt, we need to get savings together, we need to plug an income shortfall. Of course, it's going to be really, really tempting to just get rid of and sell your entire stash. And I'm certainly someone who has sold 85% of what I had. But I think that we could do with looking at actually what comes after. And I would say that if you are, and this is just my personal opinion, and I'm not a financial advisor, I would say that if you know that you're on a debt journey or a financial journey for a while, then actually could me using what I have to keep me busy, keep me at home? If I've got everything anyway, do I need to spend any more money on it? No. What can I materialize out of these hobbies, out of these crafting things, out of this time that I've spent and money that I've spent investing? And could I use that in a way so I don't have to go and feel like I'm missing out on not maybe going and doing as many social things and not taking part in as many activities and maybe not going on a holiday? And could I use this instead? So I've got an issue, which is that I'm wearing through clothes at a really, really, really fast rate, and it's not on purpose, and I can repair and maintain things as much as I can. I have those skills, but ultimately there comes a point where things aren't repairable and they are destined for the rag bin. Am I going on a holiday this summer? No. Am I approaching summer holidays where I have a pretty empty calendar? Yes. And therefore, do I want to spend the whole holidays just lollygagging around at home, not really continually doing housework and continually tidying, and not really feeling like I am indulging something, which is a risk that I run. And so the act of me going through and sorting out and deciding what I want to keep out of my sewing patterns, my notions, my crafting bits, my fabric, and actually I have this problem, which is I am wearing through clothes that are decent. I have fabric, I have sewing patterns, I have the ability to sew, to make clothes. The sizing might be a bit, but I can have a look and see what I've got. Can I fix one problem? Not wanting to spend a lot of money on clothing, can't spend a lot of money on serviceable clothing. I think being able to replace basics like pants and bras and t-shirts and socks and things is fine, but I'm talking kind of like your trousers, your shirts, your blazers, anything like that, it's just getting wrecked. And I do have a dress code as well, so I can't just turn up in jeans all the time. And can I also actually indulge in a hobby that isn't monetized anymore, so I can just make and sew for the love of it, which I'd lost, And can I give myself a project, something that's going to keep me occupied and engaged over the summer holidays and make me feel like I am achieving something in that time? Because this is a time where teachers take themselves off on holiday if they can afford it. They'll do day trips, they'll go about here and there, they'll be impulsive. And I'm talking generally because I know I have teachers that watch this who are on their own budgeting journeys, but generally it's that condensed, it's an extended block of time where if we're going to go anywhere and quote unquote cut loose, it's this window. I've got colleagues who are going to Japan, I've got colleagues who are going to Spain, I've got colleagues who are going to like Australia. I've got colleagues who are going far, and that's what they spend the whole year working up towards. And that's not something that is going to be, I don't even have a passport. I've got no plans to buy a passport, although I probably should from a ID document perspective. But I don't have a passport, and I have no plans to have any international holiday until I have got myself out of debt. That is the reward that I'm going to set myself at the end. And I also know that because of my own financial situation so far this year, all of my goals that I have set, I've had to take a massive, they've not been able to be achieved in the way that I wanted to. But what I do also know is that I want to get to the summer and actually enjoy it, and I want to fall in love with sewing and crafting again. And because as I have gone through and as I've sold my fabrics and sorted them through, I've actually really properly thought, what do I want to use this for? And so I wanted to just come on, and I've got a couple of clips ready to go. It's the patterns where there are things that I can make, and I've got the fabric that I've pulled out so far. The fabric, some of which is 7 or 8 years old. Some of the fabric is 9 years old. Some of it, the patterns I have had for 4 or 5 years. So we're talking money that has long been spent, and I therefore have everything that I need to put this together. And it's something that I've not seen talked about a lot in the budgeting community, and it's how do we and what do we do with hobbies for those of us that don't have a lot of money or need to cut down our spending and have debt. And I would say that it's a pretty fine balance, and I think it's also dependent on how much you have, if how much you have financially indulged in your hobby in order to, and I'm talking crafting specifically, in order to make things. My proposal to you, because I know I have crafters that watch this, and share my love of the stash, as I call the stash, the fabric stash, the wall stash, the art stash. My proposal to you would be, what can you make and what can you do with what you have already? And is there a way that you can think creatively and out of the box by trying to fix a problem that doesn't involve you spending more money? And additionally, can your hobby financially serve you a little bit? Can you sell what you have made, or can you sell supplies that you haven't touched and haven't looked at? And I have sold things where I've moved house with it 5 times. I've bought it 10 years ago and done nothing with it. Could you, if you aren't going to sell and you don't want to slim your stash down, you don't want to make to sell, actually could you use it as a way to keep you busy and occupied, so that the temptation to, if you feel like you are missing out on social things or needing to take that time, could you try and use those things at home instead? I also use mine as a social thing. I have a really good friend, and once a month she comes over to stay, and we do crafting weekends. We are both crafters and makers. I have everything at my house that she would need to use. She has everything at her house that I would need to use, and we flip flop. So I'll go stay at hers, and then she will come to mine, and we will just have crafting weekends. All of the food that we have is part of my own kind of thing, so no extra money is spent to do this, and it is a good way of indulging that hobby with someone creatively. So it's just a little bit of a discussion point. It's a generalized discussion where there are no right or wrong answers, but it's something that I've not really seen discussed, and I wanted to come on and talk about it because as soon as I finish filming this video, I'm going to go downstairs and I'm going to go start cutting and making, because I want to start getting that practice in and going. And hopefully I will be able to show you in a few weeks' time what I have made to supplement my wardrobe going forward. Therefore, we're going to roll straight onto a little look at the sewing patterns that I have pulled out, and then you're going to see some fabric, and then that is where we're going to leave it. So in advance of this, I'm going to see you all later, and see you tomorrow for another budgeting video. Enjoy the next 2 clips. Bye bye for now. So before we get to the fabric, I need to show you sewing patterns, because that will hopefully kind of explain everything. Do excuse the state of just like everything here. I'm in the middle of having a tidy while I try and film this video, because that's what's happening today. I pulled out all of the sewing patterns for me that I want to keep, and I've pulled out everything that I've looked at and gone, I could make you into something that I would be willing to wear. So after I've shown you the patterns, I'm going to show you the fabric, and then we're going to tie it all in, and in theory this is going to be a video which works. But first up, I have this. Now the sizing on this is too small, so I won't be making this straight away. And same again for this one, but more specifically the kimono type thing. It's cut to a size M and a size small for the kid, and I'm not a size M. However, now we do get into more my type of territory, okay? And do avoid the camera shake. I've not set up on a gimbal because this was a spur of the moment thing. This, very much me. This, also me. Very much me. The culottes. Just the culottes. I need a cape. For winter. I can make a cape. I can buy a cape. I'm going to make a cape. Again, sizing, but I want this. And I don't know what I'd wear it for, but I want it. But therefore, because I don't have anything to wear it for yet, I might not make it yet. This, that's an awful made up example, but this, I'm very much intending on making multiples. Again, I've got a thing for wide leg trousers and maxi skirts because I like them, they're versatile, and I can wear them for work. And as I'm finding, I'm going through clothes and wearing through clothes at a ridiculous rate at the minute because of the work that I do. So yes, we'll be going to town on this one. Here we go. So this is what I'm thinking. I've got some printed chiffony Georgette type things, and I'm going to try and make up either the shorter one or probably the longer one is more my style, if I can squeeze enough fabric out of that. So that'll do. I mean, I know I've said in the past that I'm not I have some issues. It's not going to be the things I make up first, but I like this. I like this. And I like this. And I like the bag. Bag be good. And I like another tote bag. Bag be good. And some basic trousers. So we'll have a go at that. I'm also really tempted to have a go at this one here. Just kind of use up my scraps and things and make a little kind of makeup bag, see if that works. That's also something I'm testing for a module that I'm running next year. And then finally we have some Hakana pants as well, which fabric dependent we will see. But that's all the patterns. Now let's take you over to the fabric and see what you would match up between them while I run you through the fabric stash so far, kind of. So it's when I pull everything out that I realise I have a bit of a problem. And this isn't everything, but it is certainly everything which I've pulled out and looked at the patterns that you've just seen and gone, yeah, I can make some things with those. So let me show you. This has all come out, like there's still a box that I'm keeping. I'll put a picture here. First of all, I've got this lovely stuff. I don't know how much I've got in terms of meterage, but I've got some of that. That can go into maybe a skirt or a dress that's lined. I've got 10 meters of this linen cotton mix, so that'll definitely do for definitely some trousers, maybe a dress, probably a skirt as well. I've got, this is a printed viscose. I think I've got 5, maybe 3 or 4 meters there, so that'll do for something. This as well is also printed viscose, and I think I've got 6 meters of this, so that'll do a couple of things at least. Oh, out the way, just go out the way. I've got 10 meters. This is a black version of the orange stuff, so this is 10 meters of cotton linen mix, and again, that'll do a ton of stuff. I've got this, which is like a thicker cotton drill in this lovely burgundy, and I don't know how much of this I've got. It might do some form of a skirt, or it might need to be panelled and go towards it, but there's 1.5 meters, possibly 2 meters maybe. This is lighter weight cotton in this lovely rusty orange, but there's not a lot of it, so I'll need to look and see what I can make from this, but it's definitely dressmaker-y. This is a viscous linen mix. I've got something cut from this somewhere. I think a pair of dungarees, and I need to try and track it down, but whatever I've got left, we'll see what I can make up as well. This is a printed georgette, and it's great for, if I've got enough, some kimonos. I've actually got a dress that I made out of this, which is a wrap dress, which no longer fits, but if I've got enough here, I'll make some kind of like drapey summer kimono type thing, and then I'll do the same for this as well. And this is also a thicker printed chiffon. There's 2 meters here, so there needs to be enough, and I might have to pattern hack something to do that. This is the mustard version of the beige linen look, or linen viscous mix. There's a good amount here, so we'll see what I can get out of that. Maybe a dress, maybe some trousers, maybe a skirt. We'll have a look and see. Hopefully I can make as much as possible out of the fabric that I have. And again, another printed viscous that I have got as well. I think I'm up to 5 meters on that one. This is 2.5 meters of printed polycotton. Very, very, very tempted to make a skirt out of this, and this one as well, 2.5 meters of this. This is also printed polycotton, and I'm going to have a look through the patterns that I have shown you, and then go through and get everything proportioned out. But that is just the fabric that I know immediately that I can lay my hands on and get making. So yeah,